Ancestral debt cleansing, the spiritual ritual to delete inherited financial traumatic imprints. We are born into more than just genes. Deep inside us, we carry invisible emotional and financial imprints passed down through generations. These hidden patterns shape how we think about money, safety, and survival. Even when we believe we are free, old stories quietly live inside us, influencing every choice we make without us even noticing. There is a weight we cannot see, but we always feel it. It shows up as fear, hesitation, and limitation around money. This weight is not ours alone. It is inherited, passed through family lines like an unseen burden. We carry it silently, believing it is our own identity when in truth it is only inherited memory. Inside the mind exists a hidden space where ancestral memories are stored. This room holds emotions, fears, and survival patterns of those who came before us. It is not spoken about, but it is always active. Every belief about lack or struggle echoes from this place, shaping how we respond to abundance and opportunity in the present. Scarcity is not just a thought, it is a code written deep within the subconscious mind. This code repeats itself across generations, reinforcing the idea that there is never enough. Even when life offers abundance, this internal program filters it through fear. Breaking this code requires awareness, presence, and the willingness to see beyond inherited limitation. Awakening begins the moment we notice what was always there. Subtle emotional threads connect us to the past, shaping our reactions to money and security. This awareness is powerful. It is the first step in breaking cycles that have existed for generations. Once seen clearly, these invisible threads can no longer control us in silence. Every family carries an emotional ledger. It records fear, loss, struggle, and survival patterns. These entries are not written on paper, but inside the nervous system. We inherit not only stories, but emotional responses. This ledger influences how we handle money, relationships, and opportunity, often without conscious awareness of where these reactions truly come from. Energy moves through family lines like waves through water. Trauma, fear, and limitation are passed down not as words, but as energetic imprints. These imprints shape behavior and belief systems. Understanding this transmission allows us to see that many of our struggles are not personal failures, but inherited emotional patterns seeking resolution through awareness. At a subconscious level, we often carry unseen contracts. These are agreements made through survival, pain, and repetition. One of the strongest is the contract of lack. It tells us to expect struggle instead of ease. But once we become aware of it, we gain the power to dissolve it and rewrite our inner financial reality. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Our nervous system stores inherited stress responses linked to survival and scarcity. These reactions trigger fear, even in safe situations. Money becomes emotionally charged, not logical. By calming the nervous system, we begin to release these inherited reactions and create space for new patterns of stability and abundance. Patterns repeat until they are seen. We often mirror the financial struggles of those who came before us, not because we are destined to, but because we are unconscious of the cycle. The moment we recognize this reflection, we gain the ability to choose differently and interrupt the repetition that has shaped our lineage for years. There is always a moment where change becomes possible. This is the point of intervention. Here, we are no longer just repeating history, we are consciously choosing a new direction. Awareness creates a break in the cycle. In this pause, transformation begins, and inherited patterns lose their automatic control over our decisions. Releasing inherited patterns is not forceful. It is a gentle signal from within. When we stop identifying with limitation, those patterns begin to dissolve naturally. The energy that once held scarcity together starts to break apart. What remains is clarity, space, and the beginning of a new internal structure built on awareness instead of fear. Within deep reflection, we begin an inner dialogue with our lineage, not through words but through understanding. We acknowledge their struggles without carrying them forward. This recognition brings healing. We honor their journey while choosing not to repeat their limitations. In this space, separation and connection exist together in harmony. Patterns lose power when they are no longer unconscious. Once exposed to awareness, they begin to dissolve. What once felt permanent now becomes flexible. The mind realizes it does not have to follow inherited instructions. This realization weakens the cycle and opens space for new choices rooted in freedom rather than repetition. Transformation begins within the inner script. Old beliefs about money and worth are replaced with conscious understanding. This is not denial of the past, but a rewriting of its influence. The mind begins to form new associations with safety, abundance, and stability. Gradually, the internal narrative shifts from survival to possibility. As inner patterns change, so does our energetic frequency. Fear-based vibration begins to fade, replaced by grounded awareness. This shift is subtle but powerful. It changes how we perceive opportunities, challenges, and resources. The world does not change first, we do. And through this change, our experience of reality begins to transform. Fear loses structure when it is observed without resistance. What once felt overwhelming begins to lose intensity. The mind realizes that inherited fear is not truth, only memory. As clarity grows, fear collapses naturally. In its place remains calm presence, allowing clearer decisions and more aligned responses to life situations. Where there was once automatic reaction, now there is choice. This is a powerful shift. Instead of repeating inherited patterns, we pause and respond consciously. Each decision becomes an act of creation rather than repetition. Choice restores personal power, breaking the illusion that we are bound to ancestral limitations. Abundance is not created, it is revealed. As inner resistance dissolves, we begin to notice the natural flow of opportunities around us. The field of abundance was always present, but unseen through the lens of scarcity. Now perception shifts, and life begins to feel more open, supported, and expansive. Healing goes deeper than thoughts. It reaches the cellular level. Old emotional imprints stored in the body begin to release. This process is subtle, often felt as emotional shifts or physical lightness. The body no longer carries the same inherited tension. It starts to remember ease, safety, and balance. Emotions long stored begin to surface and clear. This is not chaos, but release. The system lets go of what it no longer needs. Sadness, fear, and heaviness rise and dissolve. Each release creates more space within, allowing clarity and emotional stability to take root naturally over time. As old patterns fade, new beliefs begin to take root. These are not forced affirmations but natural understandings. Beliefs about possibility, safety, and growth slowly grow within. Like a seed, they require time, patience, and consistency. Over time, they become the foundation of a new internal reality. Alignment occurs when thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to match. There is less internal conflict. Decisions feel clearer and more grounded. Life starts to flow with less resistance. This is not perfection, but harmony between inner truth and external expression. Opportunities begin to appear naturally, not through force but through alignment. When internal resistance fades, life responds differently. Paths open that were previously unseen. The sense of struggle decreases, replaced by a smoother experience of movement and possibility. Healing does not erase the past, it transforms its influence. The ancestral line begins to stabilize. What once carried weight now carries wisdom. The cycle is no longer unconscious. It is integrated, understood, and released from repetition. Sovereignty is the recognition of inner authority. No longer shaped entirely by inherited patterns, we begin to lead our own internal world. Decisions come from awareness, not fear. This creates a strong sense of personal stability and grounded confidence. Identity begins to expand beyond limitation. We are no longer defined by inherited struggle. Instead, we begin to see ourselves as capable of growth, creation, and change. This expanded identity becomes the foundation for new experiences in life. A new timeline emerges naturally. It is not forced but chosen through awareness. Old cycles fade into the background as a new direction becomes dominant. This timeline feels lighter, clearer, and more aligned with inner truth. Abundance is no longer an idea, it becomes lived experience. It shows up in simple ways: clarity, opportunities, and ease. Life feels more supported. The relationship with money and resources becomes calmer and more conscious. Abundance is no longer an idea, it becomes lived experience. It shows up in simple ways: clarity, opportunities, and ease. Life feels more supported. The relationship with money and resources becomes calmer and more conscious.